Okay, now now we're going to look at the subfield of political biology. This is Political Science 310 Political Behavior. It's video 5 on March 18th, 2020. Okay, when we think about political orientation in general, we can go back to like Karl Marx, and who thought that political orientation was determined by class relations. Karl Mannheim thought that political orientations were derived from groups, and subsequent scholars in political behavior have largely gone along with this idea that social and institutional environment is paramount when determining ideology, and so we can do group behavior. An example of this social and institutional environment is that we think that parents are the greatest influence on socialization. Socialization influences political ideology. And so the best predictor of an individual's political ideology is their parents' ideology. This does not mean that every Republican parent is going to have a Republican child, but it is a very strong indicator that they will have a Republican child. Um, Biology has kind of a different um, set of standards. It's not society, it's not your childhood, it's actually your genes. And that's why I had you take the quiz prior to watching this video, or because it is really easy to accept that that your genes have something to do with the kinds of diseases you're prone to. There is a very strong set of evidence that, for instance, Tay-Sachs disease is a disease of your genes. You also can see that there are genetic factors to your physical traits, and so you don't just develop freckles overnight. There are some people who have a gene that causes that its expression causes you to have freckles. We also know that some sorts of behaviors are very genetic. There are people who are more likely that are genetically predisposed to be smokers, and others who are less predisposed to those kinds of addictions. And then we also know that preferences can play out in terms of the kinds of things we like or don't like have to do with your genetics. And so that's why I wanted you to take the test, so you can see that there's a lot of our lives we've already linked to expressions of your genes. So why is it so hard to accept that there could be a biological basis for political preferences and behavior, just like there is a biological basis for these other things? And I think the reason is that we like to think that we have choices. We don't tend to think that we should have the choice whether to have freckles or not. We just kind of accept that you do or you don't have it. In politics in general, though, we really like to think that we examine the issues, we examine the character of the president. We try to decide whether or not the political party in power is doing a good job, or whether maybe the other party would do a better job. We like to think that that's all happening at a very rational level. Political biology asks us to think about political behavior in a different way, and it's very difficult, and it challenges a lot of our kind of closely held perceptions about how politics work. Um, but if political ideology is determined in part by genetics, and you get your genes from your parents, then political ideology would be determined both by your sociology, how you were raised, the institutions, etc., but also the genetics that your parents gave you. And one indicator that this might be true is that adopted children tend to follow the traits that are given by their biological parents rather than their adopted parents. And so the criminality patterns are you are more likely to have a criminal record similar to your biological parents than to your adoptive parents, even though your biological parents had no role in raising you and shaping your values and things like that. And so we do know that that there is behavior that is very clearly shaped by the your genetics rather than your social environment. Um, so the definition of political biology is that it is the application of theories and methods from the science of biology to the scientific understanding of political behavior. We're going to look at kind of the next video, we're going to look at kind of how that's done, the process through which these analyses are made. And then we'll get a series of examples of how political biology experiments are being used to further our understanding of people's political behavior. So I'll see you in the next video about how experiments are done.